Stephen A. Smith was on Patrick Bet David's podcast, and they were talking about MJ, and he said how MJ is not going to hold back next year on NBC. We'll see. We'll see about MJ. He's been quiet for many, many years, but I just thought about it today. I just look forward to get Michael Jordan's thoughts if he is indeed unfiltered, if he is indeed saying what's really on his mind about where the game is, who the players in the league are, what he thinks about him. I don't know. I think it could be pretty fascinating. What do you feel? Are you excited about MJ, or are you more skeptical about what that experience is going to be like with him?
I'm nervous. I'm very nervous about what it's going to look like, to be honest with you, because I love MJ. You know, I'm 41. I'm a little bit older than you. And one of the reasons I was curious to ask you about this is because I'm just curious what the younger people think. Jordan, 98, I was 14 years old. So I was a kid watching Jordan. And the people that are 30, 25, 30 watching the NBA, he's like what Wilt was to me, almost this myth, this thing you didn't even have. And Jordan has been silent for basically 25 years. We haven't heard from him, and I think it adds to his legacy. The Last Dance came out, and everybody was like, oh, we get to relearn about this guy in this curated way, how awesome, he seems incredible. But we know when guys are commenting, I mean, we know this, you and I, because we do this for a living, inevitably people are going to say something dumb. And MJ, is he like a Shaq who maybe can't help himself and throw a little barb in there, downplay guys that he doesn't love, who the rest of NBA fans love? I don't know. But I'm more curious, just does MJ have cultural relevancy to people who are south of 35? That's my big question, because this is the most important player in the history of the NBA, at least in my opinion, the most important player coming back to call games. But I'm not sure if the main audience, the biggest demographic that'll be watching him, understands that or even cares.
It's an interesting point. I mean, so I'm 34, right? I just missed MJ. I have no recollection of any of the Bulls championships. Zero. It's sad. I wish I was born 5 years earlier just so I could have experienced it. However, I do think there's some data points that suggest that he still is going to be relevant. Last Dance, the memes, crying Jordan, that stuff has kept him. That stuff has kept him out there with just silly moments or serious moments, as we saw in The Last Dance, and the way that captured everybody's attention during the pandemic. And so, if he's going on NBC, I think people are going to listen. And if he's actually good, I think people are going to care. And maybe he's thinking part of it, LeBron's near the end, time for me to enter the media sphere and have my voice out there to remind people of who I am. And not only am I the GOAT on the court, but I'm the GOAT. You seem really skeptical, Adam.
I'm just nervous, man.
You're nervous.
Love MJ.
You think he might ruin? You think he might hurt his legacy by doing this? Is that?
I think it's hard to help you. It's hard to help your legacy when you're considered the GOAT, right? There's nowhere to go. So it's really hard for it to be like, oh, he's going to elevate it in this weird way. And here's my thing. And I think I have an enormous amount of respect for the old NBA, the 80s and the 90s, the 70s, all the guys that got here. I am of a belief that every player is standing on the shoulder of the giants that came before him, none more so than Michael Jordan. But one of the problems I think the NBA has, and it's nobody's fault, this is a natural thing, it is a game that evolves. And not only does it evolve, but I think the rate of evolution is increasing, meaning the game is more different right now in 2025, even compared to 2015, more so probably than 2015 to 2005, 2005 to 95. Things are changing very rapidly as teams get more information. The world becomes smaller. It's just evolving. And I wonder what MJ's perspective from a league that is now 30 years old. Again, don't hear me wrong. I love MJ. He's my GOAT. But I am curious if how he's going to access this game that is so wildly different from the one that he dominated 30 years ago. And that's my biggest fear. I think Chuck had a hard time with this. I think Shaq had a hard time with this early on in their analysis. And I love Inside the NBA. I'm not one of these guys that hates it. I love that show. It's the biggest influence on me as a person in media. I absolutely love it. But I think they had a hard time. If we remember them saying Golden State Warriors, you can't win shooting jump shots. That was true in 1992. But it wasn't true in 2015 with Steph Curry. The game had changed, and they were slow to understand that. I just hope MJ's not slow to understand how different this game is than the one he played.
I get what you're saying. He just might sound like an old head. He just it might sound like he's living in the past. That's what you're saying. Instead of
He might have some
embracing the way
advice
the game
that's
is.
yeah, he's breaking it down in a way where you're like, I don't know if that's the right answer there, MJ. We'll see.
Take 20 mid-range a game early in the clock.
Yeah.
Caliber.
Yeah.
That's the adjustment for you in game 3 and beyond. That's what you're worried about. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. His last decision with the Hornets to draft Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson is looking good. Maybe he'll continue heat checking moving forward as an
NBA
analyst for NBC.